second, before we start, I just wanted to say my content area is English, and we will be going over introduction to the novel, The Hate You Give. Okay, begin simulation. Happy Monday! Welcome to the week, everybody. Hi, Savannah, Deb, Ava, Jasmine, and Ethan.
Morning.
Hi. Raise your hand if you're ready to learn.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I have a question. I have a question.
No one's ready?
So, okay. So hey. Okay. So here's the thing. Can you see?
Thank you, Ethan,
Yeah.
for raising your hand. What were you going to say?
Okay. So my question was this. So that is. Okay. So where did you get that map? Because it looks like it's about 7,000 years old. That is like an old map.
It's an old relic passed down. Thanks for looking at it, though. It actually tracks where I've gone, so I have little pins in it.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
A lot of pins?
Yep.
Ooh.
Okay. So, hello. Hopefully everyone's having a good day. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody remembers to raise their hand if they have something to say, and then I'll make sure that I call on you.
Right.
And then also no cell phones, because that'll just be distracting to everybody, including me.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to our do now.
Okay, but
yes, Ava?
So what if it's an emergency and we got our phones on?
I believe all the parents and guardians know to contact the attendance office if there's an issue. So hopefully your family knows that routine as well and can contact you that way.
Okay.
I hope, does that make you feel better?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Alrighty, so our do now, I just want you guys to be asking yourself this question. You don't have to say anything out loud. So here's the question. How often do you worry about how society views you? So just think about that in your head. Is it a lot? Not really. Okay, so this is going to be anchoring our thinking for today. So you might not really have to worry about that much, but I just want everybody to know that some people, specifically minority groups, do have to worry about that on a regular basis. So we're going to keep that in mind. And today's kind of all about empathy. Yeah. So does everybody know what empathy is? Can somebody share with me what they think empathy is about? Ethan, then Jasmine.
Yeah. So empathy is like being a person who like thinks about how other people feel. So it's like going, hey, I would like it's like it's a thing that like stops you from doing something that would hurt somebody else because you don't want to hurt them.
Good connection.
So like for example, if Dev had a pudding cup and I was like, hey, I would like a pudding cup, I would not just take said pudding cup because I know that Dev would probably feel bad.
I don't eat dairy, so
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
well,
Ethan,
I mean, so Ethan, maybe not a pudding cup then.
Okay, Ethan, so I just want to pause for 1 second. I just want to say you brought up a really good point, though, about thinking about other people. So that is really what empathy, that's a huge part of it. Jasmine, what were you going to say?
So I was just gonna say it's a thing like it helps you like recognize like the humanity of other people, right? Like it like helps you like, you know, like my mom says it's like, you know, putting yourself in like their shoes and like asking yourself to think how they would feel, right?
Right. I agree with what you said. Definitely, you hit it. And then Savannah, I saw you raise your hand too. Did you have anything to add?
I mean, kind of. I was just gonna say, that, well, it helps to have, it helps you, be a better person.
I agree. I totally agree. So I want you to know that this class, we are all going to be flexing our empathy muscles, and so we'll actually be working on that today. I just want to make sure everybody's paying attention, so all eyes up here, please. Everyone will have a chance to talk at the end, I promise. Okay, so back to the do now, we were kind of talking about that, how society views us. And there's actually a term for that. It's called double consciousness. So a really famous author, W.E.B. Du Bois, he actually coined a term, double consciousness. And I just want to read the quick definition. It's a sense of always looking at oneself through others' eyes. So always looking at oneself through the eyes of others. So that might not be us, but we can understand that that would be kind of uncomfortable and not ideal if we had to do that all the time, right? So I just, to further instill this concept, I want to share some pictures and then we can discuss why these people might have a sense of double consciousness and thinking about how others are viewing them, okay? All right, so the first picture, can you all see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this gentleman in a wheelchair. So can somebody raise their hand? Why might he be thinking about how society views him? I want to hear from someone we haven't heard yet. So Ava, thank you for raising your hand, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Because, you know, like being in a wheelchair, being differently able means that you're like automatically going to be going to be like looked at differently because you move through the world differently.
Right, good connection.
Yeah.
Okay, and Deb, what were you going to
Yeah.
say?
Well,
Thank
I was going to ask also, is he, he's also, it seems like he might be a person of color, or at least he seems, it might just be the lighting. He seems a little darker skinned.
Okay. So how would somebody, a person of color, maybe why would that give them that dual consciousness?
Right. Well, because just you know, you do have to move through the world with awareness of that.
Right. Great response. And you guys are so mature thinking of these really elaborate and like really good deep connections. I really like that.
Yeah.
Ah.
Also,
And then we have,
maybe his wheelchair has rockets in it. Like maybe, I don't know.
okay, so then here's another picture. Kamala Harris, the vice president. So why might she look at herself through the eyes of others?
Because she's a total bamf.
Ethan?
Yeah.
Did you forget to raise your hand?
Yeah.
Okay, so next time I hope you can raise your hand. And then what were you going to say? I don't know if it was appropriate, but what else? What's something else about Kamala Harris?
Well, she's she's really great, but also, you know, she's she's a POC too. So, yeah.
Okay, good connection. I like her a lot too. Okay, so can we maybe brainstorm just one more group of people or a person that they don't have to be famous, that might be living with this kind of second stream of consciousness?
Well, I mean, oh,
Thanks, Dev.
yeah. I mean, I feel like almost a lot, yeah, there's a lot of people to choose from.
There is. And that you actually this is what I wanted to bring home, was that there's so many different groups of people in minority groups that could have this train of thought. And I just wanted to focus while we're talking about our book, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Specifically for this novel, a recurring theme is this dual identity, and it's specifically for a teenager. She's African American, so that's her identity, and she comes from not the greatest neighborhood, and she goes to a very affluent prep school. So that's the vantage point and the lens that we'll be looking through. And I think you all really have a good understanding now of what this dual identity means. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? Good? Okay.
No.
So now what we're going to do is I'm going to read the synopsis of the story from the back of the book, sentence by sentence. So after each sentence, we're going to capture our thinking on this sense of dual consciousness. And actually, when I show you the diagram, it'll make sense, okay? So hold on one second. All right. So before I go ahead and read the synopsis, I just wanted to preface this with, this is a very popular book. It just came out a few years ago, and it's won a lot of awards. It's extremely relevant to today's, what's going on in the world today. And I just wanted to warn you, there is some violence in the book mentioned, police violence. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of that before we jump into the topic.
What kind of violence?
Sorry, Ava, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
Well, just like what kind of violence?
So it's police violence, and it's in the synopsis, but the main character, her best friend is shot. And so, right. And so we've been seeing this in the news.
Like
So,
killed shot or just like wounded shot?
like killed shot, like shot.
Oh man.
And he passed away. I know. So it's a really tough book. And I think it's important to read this book, though, because sometimes people don't have the frame of reference when these things happen. So this book will give us, even though it's a fictional book, the insight from a family and a community. So that I think it's important for us to read. Thank you for your questions. So the first part of the synopsis is 16-year-old Star Carter moves between two worlds, the poor neighborhood where she lives and the fancy suburban prep school she attends.
And simulation.
That was it.
Whenever you're ready, Dan.